you, to reach out and to touch you and say that we love you. Open our ears, Lord, and help us to listen to your voice. And open our eyes, and we will be able to see you. This is about the power that the Lord can give to us. When we begin to seek God, He is going to make us to be aware of what is around us. We will also become aware of the deception that is now moving in our midst. And we will also become aware of the people who are in need. A good reminder of God's love, I'm going to give you a story. After a morning service at the church, the pastor and his 11-year-old son would go out into the town and hand out gospel tracts. And that particular Sunday afternoon, as it came time for the pastor and his son to go to the street with their trucks, it was very cold outside, and as well as pouring down rain. The boy bundled up in his warmest and driest clothes and said, "Okay, Dad, I'm ready." And the pastor dad asked, "Ready for what?" "Dad," the boy said, "it's time we gather our trucks together and go out." And the father responded, "Son, it's very cold outside and it's pouring down rain." The boy gives his dad a surprised look, asking, "But Dad, aren't people still going to hell even though it's raining?" And the father answered, "Son, I'm not going out in this weather." Despondently, the boy asked, "Dad, can I go, please?" His father hesitated for a moment, then said, "Son, you can go. Here are the tracks. Be careful, son." "Thanks, Dad." And with that, he was off and out into the rain. His 11-year-old boy walked the streets of the town, going door to door and handing everybody he met in that street a gospel tract. After 2 hours of walking in the rain, he was soaking, bone chilled, wet, and down to his very last track. So he stopped on a corner and looked for someone to hand a tract to, but the street was totally deserted. Then he turned towards the first home he saw and started up the sidewalk to the front door and rang the doorbell. He rang the bell, but nobody answered. He rang it again and again, but still no one answered. He waited, but still no answer. Finally, this 11-year-old child turned to leave, but something stopped him. Again, he turned to the door and rang the bell and knocked loudly on the door with his fist. He waited, something holding him there on the front porch. He rang again, and this time the door slowly opened. Standing in the doorway was a very sad-looking elderly lady. She softly asked, What can I do for you, son? With a radiant eyes and a smile that lit up her world, this little boy said, "Ma'am, I'm sorry if I disturb you, but I just want to tell you that Jesus really does love you. And I came to give you my very last gospel tract, which will tell you all about Jesus and his great love." With that, he handed her his last tract and turned to leave. She called to him as he departed, "Thank you, son, and God bless you." The following Sunday morning, in the church, the pastor, his dad, was in the pulpit. As the service began, he asked, "Does anybody have any testimony or want to say something or anything?" Slowly, in the back row of the church, an elderly lady stood to her feet. As she began to speak, a look of glorious radiance came from her face. "No one in this church knows me," this is what she said. "I've never been here before. You see, before last Sunday, I was not a Christian. My husband passed on some time ago, leaving me totally alone in this world. Last Sunday afternoon, being a particularly cold and rainy day, it was even more so in my heart that I came to decide to end of the line where I no longer had any hope or will to live. So I took a rope and a chair and ascended the stairway into the attic of my home. I fastened the rope securely to a rafter in the roof, then stood on the chair and fastened the other end of the rope around my neck. Standing on the chair, so lonely and broken-hearted, I was about to leap off when suddenly the loud ringing of my doorbell downstairs startled me. I thought, I'll wait a minute and whoever it is will go away. I waited and waited, but the ringing doorbell seemed to get louder and more insistent. And then the person ringing also started knocking loudly. I thought to myself again, who on earth could this be? Nobody ever rings my bell or comes to see me. I loosened the rope from my neck and started for the front door. All the while, the bell rang louder and louder. When I opened the door and looked, I could hardly believe my eyes, for there on my front porch was the most radiant and angelic little boy I had ever seen in my life. His smile, oh, I could never describe it to you. The words that came from his mouth caused my heart, that had long been dead, to leap to life, as he exclaimed with a cherub-like voice. He said, "Ma'am, I just came to tell you that Jesus really does love you." Then he gave me this gospel tract that I now hold in my hand. As the little angel disappeared back out into the cold and rain, I closed my door and read slowly every word of this gospel tract. Then I went